Okay, let's get a bit more granular, a bit more nitty-gritty about the parameters of the research project. Quick reminder, you have to pass this assignment in order to pass this class. The stakes don't get any bigger than they do for the research project. And that's why I do it towards the middle of the semester so there isn't end of semester freakouts that many of which can occur if this is the last project. So we're going to spend a lot of time on this assignment in the hopes of producing a piece of writing ultimately that we're both very, very proud of. I want you to succeed. Hopefully you do the things that successful students do to make that happen. So you're going to consider many topics before settling on one, and I'm praying, this is me praying now, I'm praying that you, praying to you maybe, that you will bring me into your thought process when it comes to choosing a topic. I have lots of opinions about what makes an effective topic versus what doesn't. You could probably guess, fresh thinking and 2018, the world we live in, unsettled conversations, ways to contribute new ideas, all those sorts of things. I swear, if you knew me, in real life, I don't touch my face nearly as much as I do when I'm screencasting, and I know I shouldn't. You're going to explore your topic from many perspectives, not just your own, but the sources that you locate, the outside body of research, the body of knowledge that you're going to build around your topic or your subject. You're going to ask a research question that guides your essay structure. I've already said it a couple times, but I really like why questions and I really like how questions for this assignment because those questions lend themselves to answers that we'll all sort of answer those questions differently, if that makes sense. And so, ergo, there's going to be some persuasive element to your topic instead of, what is the Bill of Rights? Is not a very good research question because, well, you can find that information. Okay, you will develop reasonable answers that will lead to your stance, and you will locate, evaluate, annotate, and integrate. Let's see what I did there. Relevant, credible, and correctly cited outside sources. And you will use those sources for various purposes. Sometimes they'll provide definitions. Most of the time they will be provided in support of an argument that you're advancing, or it will be a counter argument that you will begin a conversation with, ways to address, refute, accommodate counter arguments. Okay, and then you at all times think about your readers and who they are and what they're expecting out of you. They're sophisticated, or in my case, sophisticated. I'm definitely curious, and I want to be knowledgeable about your topic, and I promise I will be by the time I read it. And I can be persuaded. Okay, so your research project will have an effective intro unit. I am going to have future screencasts all about how to get off to a good start. Usually that means getting a reader's attention through some sort of visual imagery that maybe engages them in a slightly emotional way. Okay. You want to set the parameters of your essay by defining key terms. What do you mean by the media? I'm not going to let you get away with using the media as a term that doesn't need defined. It does need defined. 2 questions, and again, I have a screencast about this. What's at stake and who's at risk? What is at stake here? Who is at risk? Okay, well, I'll have a lot more to say about that. And then you have to have some sort of a thesis statement. It can be explicit. The following steps must be taken in order to end childhood obesity, X, Y, and Z. That's okay. It's not the most engaging writing style. It's okay. I'm much more interested in implicit thesis statements that give your reader a little more credit, that maybe they can kind of find out your purpose as they read. But again, it's a matter of your comfort level and how much you sort of want to challenge yourself. Okay, the best intros will have a sense of urgency. And then body units, I call them claims, in the other screencast. If you want to call them body paragraphs, you can. You don't need to be that, pedantic. You don't need to think inside of a box that much. But each body unit should transition that, hey, we're moving from one idea to the next, or here's what the following idea has in common with the previous idea, but what is contributing. There can be sort of a snowball effect to your points as well. Support its claims, set its agenda early, set its claims thoroughly, support its claims thoroughly. Excuse me, I'm having trouble speaking today. It's bad news for being a professor recording screencasts. So we'll have a lot more to say about the nature of support once you get your sources straightened out. We'll talk about sources here in a minute. And you want to strive for, some sort of balance. You don't want paragraphs to be completely, one like 2-sentence paragraph and then one like 25-sentence paragraph. Sometimes that works. More often than not, it doesn't. Okay, so end with a powerful conclusion that looks to the future and provides maybe any interesting info that didn't fit into your essay anywhere else. All the things that conclusions usually do. You don't have to restate your thesis. That is boring, and that is 8th grade. Let's see. So your support mechanisms are here, and I said it a little bit in the previous screencast. Research is going to be your most compelling mode of supporting your argument. So what is research? It can be statistics, facts, data, expert opinion, the results of studies, I'm trying to think of like datification. There's sort of advanced metrics on just about anything these days. Nate Silver's website has a lot to say about that, 538.com. Anything you find on Academic Search Complete will be considered a worthwhile source. Personal experiences sometimes can be useful in conjunction with outside research. Okay, hypothetical scenarios, as long as they're realistic, you can't say, the only way to solve childhood obesity, only Bigfoot can save us, something like that, or the Loch Ness monster is on the way. None of that, please. And then you want to make appeals. I'm gonna have a lot more to say about this maybe when I make another classroom visit, but you're making appeals to your reader's logic, or to their sense of emotion, or to their character, or to some need that they have, or some value that they hold. And appeals to those different aspects are important. And I'll have a lot more to say about that sort of on an individual basis, because your arguments are going to, you're all working on essay 3 right now, and you all have basically the same purpose of like this whole speculating about the different reasons why a trend exists. And so you're all sort of in a similar sort of headspace, like speculate what are the most likely causes of that trend. For this essay, you're all going to sort of individually sort of scatter and your arguments are going to become like sort of much more diffuse, and that is a lot more work on my part, I will be honest, that having to serve so many different masters and so many different capacities makes my job a lot harder, but it makes your writing a lot better, and that makes my job a lot more rewarding. And I'd rather work hard and feel fulfilled in my work than to say, here are your 4 topics, choose one, and write on that topic. That sounds hellacious to me. Okay, so anyway, I'm here to help. You know that. Let's see. What else? Your research project must have a clear purpose, have correct APA. Easiest part of my job, ladies and gentlemen, is your APA correct or is it incorrect? Everything else is up for grabs. Even in terms of like grammar, there's no completely correct way of constructing a sentence. People can be intentionally incorrect for stylistic reasons or deliberate reasons, and I'm here for that. I believe in that. But when it comes to APA, I got the same textbook. Where is it? I got it right here. I'm going to use the same textbook that you're going to use in order to, double check your APA. So do it. Make sure that your APA is correct. Okay, I'm going to take a little break here, about the halfway point. Go ahead, because we're going to talk about sources now. You're going to have to use at least 2 academic sources for this assignment. So these are requirements. This is every college comp class that Stark State is offering. These components are alike across the board. That's what makes this class transferable to any college or university in Ohio. So 2 academic sources from databases. So there's a nice easy link to the Stark State Digital Library and the English resources. You can see research databases. My number 1 here is right here, the Academic Search Complete. Let's see how it opens up there. And then I'm very big. I'll probably make a research screencast for you, but I always suggest clicking on full text so that you can look at the source right away. And I'm also big on what are called Boolean terms. Obesity, okay, and children. And what will prevalence of obesity in overweight children and preschool children in Iran? Okay, that could be useful, potentially. Cardiovascular suffering and childhood obesity. You get the point. These are all, well, I guess I should talk about the publications. Let's see. Romanian Journal of Pediatrics. We'll see. Let's see. This has a DOI number. Let's see, am I missing it? Okay. These are all peer-reviewed. Okay, so quality of life research. You can tell if something has a volume, that means it's fancy. So we want to treat it with appropriate amount of respect, I guess. So Journal of Child and Family Studies from March 2016. Parenting stress and quality of life in pediatric obesity, the mediating role of parenting styles. So I'm straight up going to read this as soon as I'm done making this screencast, because I'm always out for I'm looking for the best parenting styles out there because I want to be a good dad. So Anyway, so 2 of your sources are going to come from a database. 2 of your sources are going to be popular. You can have a lot more than 5 sources, by the way. This is we're talking bare minimums. So I try to keep a rolling list of the most useful, popular sources out there. So if you stray from this list, that is on you to evaluate that source and to justify its inclusion in your essay or your annotated bibliography before that, which is fine. There are many more reputable sources beyond this, but these are sort of just lazy Google proof. You can't just type in childhood obesity into Google and use the top source, because it's probably going to be some sort of clickbait who's low-key paying Google to become a top search result. That sort of thing happens all the time. So click around. I guess some national ones, of course, but I also got plenty of local love here. But lots of these are a lot of articles and sort of lengthier think pieces that come from a lot of these sources. So depending on where you go, like Lucky Peach, it's now defunct, but it is a food journal. So if you're writing on food, and please somebody write on food, this would be a good source for you. Okay, so and I can help direct you in any other productive direction when it comes to research. I don't want the research to be the hard part of this assignment. I want what you do with the research to be the hard part. So you have to have at least 2 academic sources, and I will be checking these when you turn in for a final draft. 2 popular sources, and you have to use at least 1 primary source. Okay, this is a link just to help you understand what a primary source is. It's from the Purdue OWL. Okay. Read it in your many leisure hours. But the primary source is usually an interview, an observation, or if you want to conduct a survey. We will be very loose in College Comp about what constitutes a primary source. I guess I can go full screen here just for a second. If you want to interview someone, that would be great. You will interview. Hopefully you'll record. Your phone has a recorder in it. You'll record your interview and you'll take the relevant parts of it out. What I don't want is 5 pages of, oh, I went to meet the so-and-so at Starbucks and we had a wonderful talk, and here are the 45 things we discussed. That's not the point. The point is to take, just like you would with a source, the most relevant aspects of the interview and apply them very precisely into your argument. Okay, and if you do choose someone to interview, you better run it by me first to make sure that there's someone who's sort of expert enough. You don't have to interview an expert. You can interview someone who excuse me, is participating in your subject in some way, but the more educated they are, the more expertise they can lend. They don't have to be experts, but they should have some level of expertise. I know that sounds weird, but there's a difference. So if you do want to interview somebody, you can't just interview your bae or your BFF or whatever, just because that sounds like it'd be easy and you think they're very smart. Maybe they are, but maybe they're not too. So you can do an interview. You can conduct a survey. You can conduct a survey through social media pretty easily. If you want to do that, that's fine. If you want to pass out flyers in your hallways, cool. You can do that too. But of course, I would much rather if you're going to do a survey, use like SurveyMonkey is sort of my go-to. They do a pretty good job of collecting the data for you, and they're pretty easily distributed and collected. So you want to conduct a survey, especially if you're dealing with, many students want to write about, high school related issues. It's natural impulse. You're in high school. So if you want to write, write about something related to high school life, you want to take a survey of high schoolers. I'm here for that. That sounds fine. What you can miss me with is just how much do you know about the Supreme Court, or how many bills are in the Bill of Rights? Those sort. If it's just a sort of very simplistic primary research, it's going to drag down the overall quality of your argument. We don't want that. You can also, and this is important, you can use someone else's interview. So if you can find an interview on YouTube, or if you've heard a podcast where someone who is intelligent about your subject is being interviewed, you can use that as your primary source. You don't have to collect the data. You can retrieve it from other places. Okay, so that's an important aspect of the assignment, that you do have to have 1 primary source, but you don't have to collect it. If we go to Comp 2 with me, you will indeed have to generate much of your research for that class. It's really fun. So let's talk a little more nuts and bolts as we wrap up here. 5 pages in length, and I mean 5 pages of text from the very first word of your first paragraph to the very last word of your last paragraph, not the title page, not your abstract, not your references page. 5 pages of text, and anybody who just writes 5 pages of text is on their way to not an A. I'll say it that way. You want to think like 7, 8 pages for an A. So as always, send me emails. Let me know how things are going for you. Involve me in every stage of the writing process. I want you to succeed, maybe more than you do.